Even though we didn't see a trailer for Avengers Doomsday or anything like that, Marvel Television did have a pretty eventful Comic-Con, and in this video we're going to talk about the 5 things that Marvel was covering in that presentation. I'm going to go for the ones I was least excited by to the ones that I'm most excited by. So for number 5, we got some news on Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Seems like the next season of that will come out next year, so that was a good announcement. All of the things I'm going to be talking about in this video apparently come out next year, so that's cool because we do only have 2 movies coming out next year with Spider-Man Brand New Day and obviously Avengers Doomsday, but we're going to have a bunch of shows to keep us entertained. And Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 1, in my opinion, was really, really good, so I am glad they're interested in a Season 2. The 2 announcements they made at Comic-Con were that Daredevil would be back, which makes sense because, spoilers for Season 1 of this show, it turns out one of the kids that Peter is working with is actually Daredevil's secret protege, but next season he'll be in a more traditional Daredevil costume, so that's nice. The other piece of news we got was that Venom will be in Season 2, which again makes sense because Season 1 ends with the symbiote coming through the portal. Does that mean Eddie Brock will be the symbiote? Does that mean Scorpion, who's already been established in this show, will be the symbiote? Maybe Norman will get the symbiote. Maybe Dr. Octopus will get the symbiote and turn into that boss from the end of the first Spider-Man game that was way too hard to beat. But besides that, there wasn't a ton announced about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and that's why that's number 5. But speaking of Daredevil, we did get some news about Daredevil Born Again Season 2. There was a trailer that was shown, but not released, although Kristen Ritter apparently put it on her Instagram, at least some of it. We did get an official first look at the new costume around the time of Comic-Con, and that looked amazing. But yeah, it seemed like the big point that they were trying to get across in the Daredevil part of this presentation was that Jessica Jones, played by Kristen Ritter, who was there at the convention, is going to be making her debut in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In this series, this is something we've known for a little while, but nice to see. I don't want to get too into dissecting the trailer. I'll wait till they put an official one out. I do want to say one thing that I did see that was pretty cool. Fisk is apparently doing a boxing match to prove how cool and tough he is. And I bet that actually probably doesn't have anything to do with the fact that Donald Trump wants to host a UFC match on the White House lawn, but it is funny because of how many other things Trump and Fisk share. Which, for those who haven't watched the show, New York real estate developer, embroiled in lots of crimes, runs for public office, and creates an extrajudicial task force that rounds up the people he doesn't like, which creates panic and fear in the city. So those 2 didn't get too much information on, but now we're moving on to the 3 that I am way more excited about. And again, I think Daredevil Born Again Season 1 was fine. I think Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is going to be much better because a lot of the problems with Season 1 came from the fact that it didn't feel like a tight narrative, and apparently because of the behind-the-scenes difficulties with that show, a lot of those problems seem to have been ironed out by the time they started filming Season 2, but a lot of Season 1 was putting together things that kind of worked, and certain episodes maybe didn't fit in as well, and it just didn't have the cohesive vibe that Seasons 1 and 3 of Daredevil did, which made them so popular. But I think they could get there with Born Again Season 2. Before we get to the live action stuff, let's talk about the thing that I was the 3rd most excited about, and honestly, it's probably the thing I will like the most next year, but we didn't get that much information from it, was X-Men 97. Again, not a ton of reveals here, although we do know now that this will be a yearly show, which is awesome. I think that's one of the things people have been pretty unhappy about when it comes to television recently. It's like House of Dragons, for example, a show you like, goes off the air for like 3 years between seasons, and you kind of forget what things happen between seasons. You lose the hype. But if we have a season of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and a season of X-Men 97 every year, even if it's only for 3 or 4 years, that consistency will get people really invested in the show. And it doesn't hurt that those 2 shows both had really, really good first seasons. New footage from X-Men 97 did showcase a fair amount, but again, I don't want to pick at that too much because we'll get a trailer when they're ready. A couple of small things I noticed that a lot of people have been pointing out. It seems like Apocalypse is the focus of the season, which makes sense because it was shown with the Gambit tease at the end of the first season. But what we did learn, I think, is that the past mutants are going to be dealing with Apocalypse, and the future mutants also are going to be dealing with Apocalypse, because in the end of the first season, all the teams get split into different time periods. We don't know why that happened. That's not explained in the trailer either. But it's good to know that it's not just 2 random times. It does seem like they're coalescing around a main character. And speaking of Apocalypse, we did see the Marvel Legends Apocalypse made-to-order figure, which is enormous compared to all the regular figures, not quite the same size as like the Sentinels, but which looks great and further reinforces the idea that Apocalypse is going to be a big deal. So we saw that. We got our first look at the Frank Quietly costumes, which a lot of people have been attributing to Grant Morrison, which I understand because those comics were written by Grant Morrison. I think when it comes to film and TV discourse and comics discourse, film and TV discourse do tend to give one person the credit, like the director which, and maybe it also has to deal with the auteur theory, but you think of a movie like Jurassic Park or Saving Private Ryan, E.T., those are Steven Spielberg movies, but there are other people that were involved with those movies. All I'm saying is, if you're a film person, it is easy to take the first person you're told, Grant Morrison wrote these comics. All right, they're the main person. They're the Grant Morrison comics, the Grant Morrison costumes, without crediting not just everybody that worked on that comic, but specifically the illustrator who came up with all of those designs. And I just think that people who aren't a big part of comics media, but want to talk about the comics in relation to movies and television, like that's what they're from, have to start crediting the artists as well. That's just how you do it. It's especially interesting in this situation because, like, this is a Frank Quietly creation. We're just talking about the design of the characters. People are still calling them like Grant Morrison costumes. But either way, it's an interesting look. It does suggest that, like, when the X-Men get back to their current time, they're going to modernize a bit. I kind of hope that they change the title of the series to, like, X-Men 98 or like X-Men 2000. I don't know exactly what the right way to do that is, but like it's weird to have a show named after a year when the show no longer takes place in that year, and when the show is now drawing from comics later than that. Like, I think we could go just calling it like X-Men The Adventures Continue or something, and then season 1 is 97, season 2 is 2000, something like that. I will say, as far as my favorite characters, like pet characters that I'm always excited to see more of, I didn't see any Emma. I also didn't see any Magic. I was hoping, because of the Morrison Quietly era, Emma would get a bigger focus here. And she did get her diamond powers, like maybe they are going to build her up, and maybe they just didn't want to reveal that. And we did get another look at Colossus, so that could suggest that Magic will show up there. But then the big one, we got another look at X Factor. It does seem like Strong Guy, Multiple Man, the rest of X Factor are going to feature heavily at some aspect of the show. I hope they get one episode that's just the X Factor episode, and maybe it is like an old story, or maybe it's them transitioning into the X Factor Investigations era. I'm not sure, but I'm happy to see Strong Guy. I hope we get more Emma. I hope we get more Magic. Also crazy that this season seems to be introducing characters like Quentin Quire and then Penance. I don't want to get my hopes up that they're doing Monet, because the Monet Penance story, especially in the beginning, is very complicated. Like, it seems like we're going to do something with a Generation X, new X-Men kind of team. Maybe that's where Magic fits in. I don't know. Again, I hope Magic shows up somewhere. Okay, so then the main two things that we're talking about here. VIsionquest, a show that is coming out and is apparently the third show in this trilogy that started in WandaVision, went to Agatha all along, and now is going to end in VIsionquest. It seems like it is going to be, based on everything we've heard, very strange, not like what we expect. It's going to have all the robots, every artificial intelligence. At the panel, Bettany said, "What's different about Vision right now is that Red Vision gave White Vision all of his memories, including the memories from within the Hex. But White Vision is having real difficulty sort of connecting to them. So he has the memories, but he doesn't have the emotion and the feelings. White Vision's journey during the show is about his attempt to connect to those memories of who he was, but with lasers. Apparently, we can introduce two human versions of all the artificial intelligences that we've met in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, except for, I guess, Griot from Wakanda. Like, they didn't mention him, even though Vision was in Wakanda, so he's met Griot. So Trevor Noah should be here too. I don't know if maybe he's going to show up. But the ones that they covered here were Jarvis, Dummy, Edith, and Friday. Jarvis is apparently going to be played by James D'Arcy, who played Jarvis on the Agent Carter show and also very briefly in Avengers Endgame, so that's cool. It makes sense because we never saw what Jarvis, like, version 1 was. In Iron Man 1, Jarvis is finished, but maybe before Iron Man 1, when Tony created Jarvis, he used, like, the vocal patterns of his dad's old butler or something, I don't know. Emily Hampshire from Schitt's Creek is playing Edith. We also got to look at Rory Malika, who we all assumed after they were cast, but now it is confirmed that they're going to be playing Speed, Tommy, the other brother that's not Billy, that is going to at some point team up with Billy and start the Young Avengers or whatever it is he's going to do. We also saw Friday is going to be played by Orla Brady. And then this one got announced, so I don't know if this was at the presentation or later, but Henry Lewis is going to be playing Dumb E, the robot arm. And then Jonathan Sayer is going to be playing You, which is apparently the name of the robot that holds Tony's camera. So I didn't realize these are supposed to be two different robot arm characters. And if you're not familiar with those two actors, Henry Lewis and Jonathan Sayer, they are part of Mischief Theater, who puts on these incredible plays. The most famous one is called The Play That Goes Wrong, and it's a comedy. It's sort of like an Agatha Christie novel, but the idea is the play goes wrong. Pretty much everything goes wrong. They're incredibly funny, also just like incredibly talented performers because of how many things have to happen in this show and how much they have to make it all look difficult. I don't know. I love this show, and I've watched everything else they've put out, at least everything else I can see. So I'm very excited for them to A, get that Marvel money, and B, get exposed to the bigger audience, because like all that stuff they do is awesome. It seems like the show's also going to be about like trauma, which makes sense because everything's about trauma, but it's going to be about like passing on trauma from father to son or something. I have a lot of faith in this because WandaVision was great, and I loved Agatha. It might be my favorite Phase 5 project, besides maybe Guardians 3, but like, Agatha was so good for anybody that hasn't seen it. So the fact that this is like the spiritual successor to Agatha, and it already is doing a lot of really strange things, like we don't understand what this show is, I'm very excited. But then the big reveal, and the thing that is number one on my list of things I'm excited about coming out of Comic-Con, is Wonder Man. Part of that is probably because this is the thing we got an official trailer for, because this apparently releases in January of next year. So I believe we were expecting this to come out late 2025. For whatever reason, it's not coming out until 2026. But we don't have to wait that much longer. And all 8 episodes are apparently being released at once, which I don't love because I do like episodic television. And like, if you asked me about this a few months ago, I'd be like, that's never a good sign. But they put all Marvel Zombies out at once, and that show is pretty good. So it doesn't necessarily mean they think this is going to flop. I have no idea. They must have some sort of retention numbers or something like that, and know that putting it out this way is the best for them. We had Yaya and Ben Kingsley at the panel, and they said all the stuff you're supposed to say, like, oh, I love Wonder Man, and oh, I'm so excited to be part of this universe, and it's the gift that keeps on giving, I keep coming back. But the trailer gave us more and less information about the show than we sort of thought. Now, real quick, for people that are not familiar with Wonder Man, because I think the expectations here are very important. Traditionally, Wonder Man is a guy who is a trust fund kid and falls in with some villains, gets ionic powers, but then he sacrifices himself, turns good, and dies. He stayed dead for a little while, but then he came back and he joined the Avengers. And he has tons of powers. He's one of the more powerful Avengers when he is alive and when he's around. People know him for a lot of things. He's a pacifist, he used to date Wanda, which makes sense because Vision's brain patterns are based off of Wonder Man. But then one of the things that most people know him for, even though I wouldn't say this is like what they did the most of, is there was a while where they went to Hollywood and became a stuntman and then a movie star. It makes sense because they used their invincibility as like a stuntman superpower, but eventually they became like a part of Hollywood. Now, like I said, this is not where their story ends. This is not the status quo for this character, but this is interesting. They're the superhero who decided to become famous. And like, what is that like? I think that as a pitch is fun. The Wonder Man show does not appear that it will be that, although it kind of maybe is. This seems to take place, and it's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But what we didn't know up until now is apparently in the 60s, there was some sort of Flash Gordon movie superhero character called Wonder Man. He did not exist. I don't know if the character's name was Simon Williams, because Yaya's name is Simon Williams, but he was a big fan of the character, so it would make sense. Maybe he's named after the character. And the Wonder Man in the movies wears their traditional Wonder Man costume, but in the show we find out that Gorkos, the bad guy from Superman, he's in this too. He is a famous director who is going to make a Wonder Man movie, like rebooting the idea of this character, and Yaya's character, Simon Williams, is one of the actors who wants this role. Now, it seems like his acting coach is Trevor Slattery, aka the Mandarin, which makes sense because he was an actor, and they're just like friends. And Trevor is the actor that goes out for this role, but once Simon finds out that this is a project that people are working on, he gets involved, and I guess he gets a call back and goes to the house and meets with the director, and he sees the other potential Wonder Men, and apparently they are all white, so that's something that's kind of fun. They have what you would consider the traditional Wonder Man look, but other things. In this trailer, Simon Williams does not appear to have superpowers. If he does, we didn't see them. And I will say, based on the trailer and just kind of a feeling, I feel like this trailer is maybe the first 2 episodes of this show. I think there's a lot we did not see. And partially it's because, like, I think in a month or 2 we'll get another trailer that will just show more. But also, like, as much as I would love a show making fun of superhero fatigue and, like, these chaotic superhero movie productions and the costumes and the press tours and all that, I would love that. I think there will be more going on with that. We know there's other characters that we didn't see. Simon's brother is in the show. We didn't see him in the trailer. Ed Harris, I believe, is in the show. We didn't see him in the trailer. One thing that was very interesting that I still have not gotten a super clear answer on is that in the booth, and you see this in the trailer as well, and I didn't see this at the booth, but I saw pictures of it, there was a lunchbox that featured Wonder Man. which is the old 60s version, the Flash Gordon one. It's just the normal, kind of face of a guy and a woman and a spaceship and stuff. But people online noticed this kind of looks a little like AI. Now, I believe when asked if this was made by AI, the team behind the show, or at least the people at the booth, said it is not made by AI. It was made by human artists, but enhanced with AI or something like that, which tells you surprisingly little because a lot of companies, a lot of programs want AI to be part of their platform because it makes it seem valuable and it's like a new thing. So everything's got AI in it. Was the image created with generative AI? Was it prompts? Was it like a funky filter put over some photos? Because if this was just a lunchbox at the Marvel booth, I would go, yeah, you know what, that might be AI. They would go, oh, we need a lunchbox for the thing. Let's mock up some guy and that's Wonder Man. I mean, even in that situation, I don't think they should use it. And I even then don't think they would, because it seems like the kind of thing they would want to have the official art out for. But you see in this trailer, the thing that people thought was AI at the booth appears to also be just like the official poster, and the posters in the backgrounds of the shots and stuff like that for the old Wonder Man movie, which in my head, it's like, there's no way that they did that whole poster using like generative AI. I just don't buy it. Partially because like making this would be fun. And I imagine this would be something that like the designers would be excited about. It's like, we're making a silly kind of retro 60s cheesy action movie poster that's going to be all over this show. Like, that would be fun. And then B, if the movie existed, which we do see footage of the movie, of the old Wonder Man movie in this trailer, it wouldn't be that difficult to just put some of that together into a poster, which like you wouldn't need to use prompts and AI to create that. In fact, using prompts and AI would be more difficult because it wouldn't look like the thing that we're watching. So I guess, I don't know, but they did admit to using some AI, so maybe it is just like a fancy AI filter. Either way, Marvel, it's probably best to stay away from this, unless this is part of it. But it doesn't seem like this is like part of the joke, is that the old Wonder Man movie from the 60s was made using AI. Like, if there was a bad Wonder Man poster that was clearly made with AI that was being used to advertise the new Wonder Man movie, if I saw that, part of me would be like, oh, they're in on the joke. Like, that's the bit, is that, oh, they're rushing this and they're using AI to make the Wonder. But I don't think that makes sense with the old poster. Anyway, it's a shame that we even have to talk about this and that this becomes part of the discourse for this Wonder Man show, because besides that, I thought it looked pretty good. I thought it looked pretty funny. I think Yaya is interesting. Like, I like his energy. The joke about Trevor formerly being a terrorist was funny. And I think there's a lot of potential to make fun of this industry and superhero movies and make fun of themselves. Like, if Marvel wants to, they can get a lot of goodwill back by just being honest and making fun of reshoots and making fun of some of the things that they've done, especially things they've done in the past. Because, like, they're going to reshoot things in the future. Like, don't make fun of reshoots and then after that make a movie and reshoot it and it's not good. And then, like, that's not good. But if you want to make fun of, like, recasting actors like they did with Edward Norton or Terrence Howard, or making fun of, like, shoehorning characters into things because they're expecting them to get their own shows. Like, I do think She-Hulk got at a little bit of this, and She-Hulk is one of my favorite Marvel shows. So if they did more of that and did it differently, then that could be cool. And, like, the show seems to be actively talking about the idea of a black actor playing a traditionally white character. So, like, it's in on some jokes. We'll see if it's in on the rest of them. But overall, those 5 projects that we just talked about, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2, Daredevil Born Again Season 2, X-Men 97 Season 2, VIsionquest, and Wonder Man all feel super different. I am very interested. Like, the 2 animated shows I loved, so I'm very excited to get more of them, and I'm excited that they're going to come out on like a regular schedule. I hope that doesn't take away from the quality, but it doesn't necessarily have to. And then as far as the live action shows, I really want to give Born Again a shot and want to see them do a season the way they want to do it without having to work in subplots that didn't work, or kind of merging their new version with an older version of the show, or any of the stuff they had to do in season 1. I think VIsionquest is going to be great because WandaVision and Agatha All Along were great. And I think Wonder Man has the potential to be really, really fun. And you know what else is fun? Nebula. Because Nebula, as I'm sure you know by now, but if you have not heard of it before, is a subscription streaming service that me and a bunch of my YouTuber friends Help to Create is a platform where we're free to not have to worry about the algorithm. I put all my videos, my Nando View Movies videos, and my Nando Cut videos up early. So if you want to see my next video now, which is about the Serpent Society in the MCU and why that's kind of a mess, you can watch that early, or you can wait until it comes onto YouTube in like, I don't know, like couple weeks, a month or whatever. Like, who wants to wait? It's fun to watch stuff now. This video was early on Nebula. You can watch it, maybe a couple hours early, but still, all the videos early, ad free. You can download them on your phone, so that's nice. You don't have to worry about like taking up all the data. But then the most exciting thing right now is our production of Nebula originals. So these are like movies, short films, plays, documentaries. These are all created by Nebula. So these are our people. These all tend to be projects the creators are really passionate about, and we're able to put out like some really cool stuff. Patrick Willems has a short film coming out very soon that they just put a teaser out for called The Dinner Plan, which like, it's not out yet, but like I've talked to Patrick about it. It's very fun. I don't want to just like tell you everything about it, but like it's cool. And it has people you definitely recognize, like John Hodgman's in it, Zach Cherry is in it. And then we have another show coming out called Subliminal, which Patrick directed an episode of, which I wrote an episode of. It is an anthology. You will see so much stuff for it in the future. When the trailer is out, I will be sharing it constantly. But if you want to, A, see all our videos early, get access to all of that, and B, help us creators make all this cool stuff that we could not make by ourselves, give Nebula a look, because it's great, and it is a steal at $60 a year or $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, you can get a year of Nebula for $36. That's just $3 a month. It is an incredible deal. Go check it out now. So we'll make some update videos throughout the year, which of these shows are cool, which are less cool. And until then, stay safe. I'll talk to you later.